Hey gang, Ronin here. Welcome on back to Sports Saturday here at the Retrocade. It's our 7th episode in this series. As always, leave a like, subscribe if you are new, ring the bell to be notified of the latest content. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at our Retrocade, and if you can, help spread the word. We're still trying to hit our goal of 100 subscribers as soon as possible. That will open up the customizable YouTube content on the algorithms that they've put in place in the last couple of months. Also, don't miss out on Suckerpunch Sunday tomorrow, where we play a fighting platform-based game across the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. If there's a game you'd like to see us feature here going forward, leave in the comments below or drop me a tweet. It can be from the NES, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, SNK, Neo-Geo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, or PlayStation 2. Now, in 40 years of being a gamer, I've played a lot of titles on a lot of consoles, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. But I have never, in my recollection, ever played Tecmo Bowl. The reason for that is twofold. One, growing up as a kid in the late 80s, when I got my Nintendo Entertainment System, my brother, who was the one who really got me into playing sports games, and I had to play them out of self-defense, really, because it was, if I wanted to hang out with him and be able to play even my own console, I had to humor him by playing these sorts of games. He didn't play Tecmo Bowl. And by the time I relocated from the Northeast, which is where I'm from, out to the Pacific Northwest, around the turn of the decade, 1990, none of the kids I knew out there played Tecmo Bowl. My brother inevitably got a Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive, depending on where you are from, and at that stage in the early 90s, he got into playing Madden football. So I never really had any exposure to it. The other reason is because this game is mythic in video game lore because of one player. And we are going to play this game this afternoon with that team and that one player to see if the myth pans out. Before I jump into that, a couple historical footnotes. Tecmo Bowl came out on the Nintendo Entertainment System in early 1989, came out in arcades in 1987 as a 4-player cabinet, which I know I said in Suckerpunch Sunday last week with TMNT 4 Turtles in Time. In the late 80s, early 90s, that was becoming a big thing, but it wasn't hugely popular because making those sorts of cabinets was cost prohibitive for those companies. You can make them, but there wasn't a guarantee you were going to make your money back on them. But the big thing about Tecmo Bowl, and the reason why it is still revered to this day as one of the greatest games, sports games or otherwise, of all time, was it was the first NFL football game that had licensing from the NFL Players Association. Now, that's different than saying it was an official NFL game. Games like Madden and what you see nowadays, what you've seen over the last 2-3 console generations, that was all officially licensed through the NFL. Back in the late 80s, you couldn't get NFL licensing, which meant you couldn't have the team names. You could have the city names because the NFL couldn't regulate that. But when they got the listing, or when they got the license for the NFL Players Association, that made you, for the first time ever, you could have the actual players. Now, they don't have all of them. Some of them opted out. But for the most part, you get the majority of the players on these teams. And as you can see, I think there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 12 teams that are available in Tecmo Bowl 1. Whereas at the time, if I remember right, there were 28 NFL teams. So obviously you don't have teams like New England. You don't have Buffalo. There's Minnesota, teams like that. But you got these 12 teams, and you got the majority of the players on all of them. Was huge. So what we're going to do today for Sports Saturday, and if I win this one, then I will go to 4-2 overall in my Sports Saturday record. SSX Tricky doesn't count because it's really not a game that you play for wins or losses. That's one I play just to have fun with. But we are going to take Los Angeles, which means we're going to play the Los Angeles Raiders. And at the time in 1989, the Raiders were based in LA. They weren't in Oakland. And they're not now in Las Vegas. Well, we're going to play the Raiders, and we're going to see if we can win this game with one player. Player's name is Vincent Jackson. You may know him better as Bo Jackson. And let's see who we will play against. We're going to play against the Cleveland Browns. Now, before I get into this, I want to say up front that, again, the reason why I never played this game and what I understood about it was if you're playing it as a one-player game, playing as the Raiders and playing as Bo Jackson made this game pretty much you couldn't be beat. Because all you have to do is give the ball to Bo, and as far as I understand, and there's swaths of YouTube videos outlining this, once you give him the ball, you can't stop him. To use the old ESPN line, you can only hope to contain him. And I'm going to get a copyright strike for that. But as somebody who likes to play different video games, it was one of, well, unless you're going to play as the Raiders, then you're never going to lose. And if you're going to play as a team going up against the Raiders, you're never going to win. Which makes it kind of a zero-sum game as far as wanting to enjoy the experience of playing a sports game. So I just never got interested in trying it. So we'll see over the course of the next 25 minutes whether this will pan out. Now, the nice thing is that these quarters are really short. They're only 90 seconds long, and you can't adjust them. And right away, I already like the way it's presented because you get this left-to-right feel. And, okay, and I've already got Tim Brown. And Tim Brown is a Hall of Fame wide receiver. He's the kick returner in this game. That's an interesting realization. All right, we'll give it to Bo. And, well, that wasn't necessarily a breakaway. Try it again. Kicks to the outside, breaks away from one man. Okay. Well, picked up a chunk of yards there. Now, I want to be sure on this that people understand, and people who are, of which there's a great many younger than I am, may not understand this. The reason why in the 80s you could have a player like Bo Jackson in a video game and make him this unstoppable was, at the time, Bo Jackson was a highly touted, Heisman Trophy winning running back. Came out of the University of Auburn in Alabama. Instead of going into the NFL because he was going to be drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and for people who don't understand, there was a time 35, 40 years ago where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the laughingstock of all sports. They were one of the first teams to go they went an entire season without a victory. And ended up going, I think it was 0-26 to start their career in the NFL, or to start their franchise in the late 70s. So they were just a terrible team. Well, they had the chance to draft Bo Jackson, and rather than go play football, Bo went and played baseball. He was one of the first true two-sport athletes. He was the first two-sport athlete of the modern era, which is from about 1970 onward. Goes to play baseball, and he was a good college baseball player. Could hit and field as well as he could run with a football. Goes to the Kansas City Royals, plays for a couple of years, and then comes back and plays football after he gets an opportunity to go play for the Raiders. And the Raiders in the late 80s were still a really, really good team. So that's how we have this set up. And when he burst onto the scene in the NFL, it was one of... we hadn't seen a guy of his size run as fast as he can. And Bo Jackson's not a big guy. Bo is about 6'1", about 225 pounds. But if you look at commercials of him, and I would definitely tell you to go look up the classic Nike commercial of Bo Knows Sports, because that really helped put Nike on the map in a lot of ways. As he busts out again, can I get all the way to the end zone? 10-5, touchdown, Bo Jackson. So it doesn't take long for him to get out into the clear, and as long as I can keep people from running into him, then it looks like it'll be a pretty easy day. But if you look at those classic commercials of Bo, he's a sculpted athlete. I mean, you look at him and you just think, that guy, he's cut out of granite for one. But he fits the moniker of being an athlete. But he wasn't a huge guy. It was just the fact that he could outrun everybody. And being his size, he seemed tougher than most people. You know, in NFL history, the the biggest, or one of the biggest moments in the late 80s in the NFL was when Bo Jackson ran into another highly touted college player named Brian Bosworth, also known as the Boz, who played for the Seattle Seahawks. And it was kind of like a meeting of who was going to be the man. Uh-oh. Kevin Mack, it's all the way down to the 1. Interesting. But in that game, Bo had a chance to go one-on-one with Bosworth, ran into him at the goal line, ran him over, and scored. And then later in the game, he took off down the sideline and went, I think, the better part of 90 yards. And ended up scoring. And it was one of those of, well, Bo has arrived. And the only reason why people don't know more about Bo Jackson was in the early 90s, he was playing, if I remember right, the Cincinnati Bengals. And he got out in the clear on a play. Ooh, and Cleveland has scored. Webster Slaughter. But anyway, Bo got out on a run and was pulled down along the sideline. And it wasn't a dirty play. The guy got him around the hip and pulled him down. But as he did, it dislocated Bo's hip. And it did it so badly that it essentially took it right off of his pelvis. And then the ensuing damage that came from it also led to the blood vessels around that dislocation essentially rotting. I mean, I'm trying not to be too graphic about it, but I want to explain the severity of this injury and why it is that he never played football again after that. He had to have his entire hip replaced. He played baseball for a couple of more years, but he was truly never the same after that. And it's one of the great what-if stories of, if he had been healthy, what could he have done? Would he have been the greatest player in football history? Would he have been the greatest running back in history? We'll never know. But I can understand why people in this game, as I just bust off that long run for another touchdown, were so inclined to say you're either playing as Bo or nobody's playing as Bo. Because if all I have to do is run the ball, I don't even think I have to throw a pass in this game. Which football purists of like 100 years ago, who abhorred things like passing, which is completely antithetical to what you think of when you look at football nowadays, obviously, they would love it. But first impressions so far, as we're through a quarter of football and it's 14-7 LA, is that this game is definitely slanted towards offense. Like, I have no idea how this is set up to stop passes or anything. But we held Cleveland there. Good punt. And you have to remember that in the late 80s as well, if you're not old enough to understand this, there was a point when the Cleveland Browns were a really good football team too. Now there's a chance we may see them get to that point depending on what happens in the next couple of seasons. It looks like they're at least trying. Oh, give the ball to Marcus Allen that time. Now, that was part of the other thing about Bo, was that, ooh, we didn't get there. All right, I'm going to try the odds here. This is something in football terms you should never do, because you're on your side of the field, and it's fourth down. Oh, we didn't get it. So, it looks like there is a way that you can potentially stop Bo. Wasn't expecting that, really. But anyway, that was another point of historical contention with the Raiders, was when Bo got drafted and became an Oakland Raider, they already had a potential Hall of Fame player as running back in Marcus Allen. And Marcus Allen is one of the great complete football players ever as they hit the field goal, and that makes it 14-10. Marcus Allen could run. He could block. He won the Heisman Trophy in 1982 with USC as a running back. His rookie season, the Raiders won the Super Bowl, beating the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins, in Super Bowl 18. And for a long time, he had the longest run in Super Bowl history, 74 yards, that came about in that game. Wow. Okay, so we're not getting anywhere. We may have to try a throw here. But Marcus could run. He could block. And he could catch, as illustrated here, because he caught that ball for a first down. So as a football player, he was far and away better than Marcus, or than Bo Jackson was. But Bo Jackson was more explosive a runner. But he's not breaking away the way he was before, which is interesting. They gave that one to Marcus, and he picks up 7. And Bo doesn't get very far. He gets backed up and dropped. Interesting. Well, we got enough for the first down, but it wasn't easy. Let's see if we can score before the half. This time he gets in. So the third score of the game for Bo Jackson makes it 20-10. But I have yet to see him being quite as untouchable as I'd been led to believe he was. And it may very well be the fact that I've never played this game, and I may just not be as versed in working him as more experienced players are. Like, I've seen more than once on YouTube, which is one of the reasons why I was interested in playing this. Uh-oh. Oh, man, is he going to return this all the way? He is. 10-5, touchdown. Covers the length of the field. Gerald McNeil. So it makes it 21-16 at the half. So as I was saying, you can watch anywhere on YouTube. There's plenty of video of people taking Bo, going all the way back to the LA goal line, turning around and going 99 yards back for a touchdown. But I can also understand why almost 40 years later now, or at least 35 years later, I should say, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in the date, people still love to play this game. It's not a hard game to play, at least as far as understanding the controls go. Although I don't understand why I didn't just get that sack, because I had the quarterback dead to rights there. That time we got him. So 3rd and 15. They're gonna have to probably, no, they're gonna go for it. Interesting. But you only have 2 running plays and 2 pass plays to figure out. And he's sacked on 4th down, so they turn it back over. So picks up 9. Well, we got enough for the first down on that one, but just barely. Was that Hairston? I have no idea who that was, but that he ran him down from behind. Okay, we're inside the 10. And he's in for another touchdown. So that makes it 27-16? 27-17. Got it off before they came in to block it. Kicking extra points seems pretty straightforward. And unlike Madden games, you don't have a whole lot of control over like where you can kick the football, things like that. I mean, this is still very rudimentary by comparison to what you can do nowadays. But it's still fun. You know, even though you're trying to see what you can do to stop defenses. Uh-oh. Kevin Mack. So your guy can obviously run faster than pretty much the rest of the defense. And that time we really swarmed Kosar. Bertie Kosar was never a bad quarterback. Like I said, he was the last really good quarterback that Cleveland had. Say what you will about people like Baker Mayfield, but they're not quite. He's not quite on Bernie's level yet. They're gonna go for it again. 4th and 17. And he doesn't get there. I still thought I had a chance to get outside. So let's say as long as you can cut different directions and stay away from the guys pursuing you, you got a good chance. Although that time I gave it to Allen and he didn't get nearly as far. So it seems like if I use Marcus Allen more for a receiver than anything else, I think I'm in good shape. We got 1 second to go in the period. Yeah, I wasn't going to get there. Everybody came swarming after Bo. So go to the 4th. We're up 28-17, so it's an 11-point lead. Make it an 18-point lead after the extra point, and that's 5 touchdowns for Bo. So you don't really even have to worry about throwing the ball if you're the Raiders. You just go ahead and give it to Bo, and as long as you can find a gap and keep him away from the guys trying to run him down, you won't have a hard time scoring. But this is definitely a game that is tailored more towards offense than defense. Like, I don't even know how you can get an interception in this game. I've got a couple of sacks. And it also seems like a game that is more accustomed to running it. I mean, this is what they would refer to in college football as 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Which, by comparison to what you see nowadays, where you see guys throwing the football 50 times a game, can be considered boring. But back in the 80s, you were much more reliant on rushing than you were passing. And how did I not sack the quarterback there? I had co-star dead to rights. I had two guys coming out, but he all of a sudden started blinking. I couldn't hit him. But the NFL back in the 80s, with the exception of guys like Dan Marino, who really, really set the trend of being able to just air it out from anywhere on the field, it was more of a run-centric game. And we're not going to get him. Touchdown. Is that Biner or Mack? Kevin Mack. But this is becoming a bit of a shootout, so it's whoever can really literally run up the yardage and run up the points is the one who's going to win here. We have 48 seconds left and we're back up by 11, which gives us time to potentially score again. Good return by Brown, though. Tim Brown was no slouch. He played like 17 seasons, predominantly for the Raiders. But he was a Heisman Trophy winner out of Notre Dame. He was the last Heisman Trophy winner out of Notre Dame, in fact. Didn't get very far that time. I'm tempted to consider running another pass play just to see if any good comes of it. Oh, we'll give it a try. Why not? Well, we got one pass off, so we've done 1.5. But Jay Schroeder was never the greatest quarterback in the world anyway, and I'll just give it a Bo and let him run it on in. So that's 6. And the most touchdowns ever in a single game by a running back was by Gale Sayers of the Chicago Bears. The late Gale Sayers, I should say. He sadly passed away last year. But he scored 6 in a game. But that was way back in the early 60s, if I remember right. Early to mid-60s. And Gale Sayers, like Bo Jackson, was a case of what if. He played for a couple years and then blew his knee out. Back then, if you had that happen, your career was essentially over. And that's it. So we beat Cleveland 42-24. And we did it all on the feet and shoulders of one Bo Jackson. So now I can say that I've officially played Tecmo Bowl and won with arguably the greatest player in the game. So I suppose in a lot of ways that's a gimme, but again, I can understand the appeal of a game like this. It's not hard to learn, it's not hard to play, and if you get the right team, mainly if you play LA, then I don't see how you can lose. What would worry me, I guess, is that if I played as Cleveland or any other team trying to stop Bo, and what I might do at a later date is revisit this and see if I can find a way to stop Bo. The only issue is that because the computer automatically picks the opposing team, I'd have to find out which one I can do to make sure that in that game I can play against LA and then see if there's a way to stop him. If I can stop him, then maybe there's a bit more of appeal to this. Otherwise, I can only see this as being a fun game if you're playing with the Raiders. So, that, boys and girls, is Tecmo Bowl, the original Tecmo Bowl for the Nintendo Entertainment System. If you enjoyed that, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, ring the bell to be notified of the latest content, follow us on Twitter at Retrocade, and please spread the word. We're still trying to hit our goal of 100 subscribers as soon as we can. Don't miss out on Suckerpunch Sunday tomorrow, where we will play a fighting platform-based game from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. I'm still not sure which one we're going to play yet. I'm going to make that decision later today, but I will have that up in time tomorrow. Also, our Final Fantasy VI ongoing playthrough returns on Monday. We do 2 episodes a day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so 6 episodes during the work week. And if there's any game you'd like to see us feature on this channel from the Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, SNK Neo-Geo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, or PlayStation 2, leave it in the comments below or drop me a tweet. As always, my name is Ronin. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I will talk to you tomorrow on Easter Sunday for Suckerpunch Sunday. Bye.